Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Everybody, I am so pleased to be here with my old veterinarian, Dr. Bob Goldstein. Hello, Dr. Bob.
Hi, great to be with you.
And by old, I mean 24 years ago in 2000, I engaged with Bob's office via phone because I lived in San Diego. His practice was, you don't have a practice currently, right?
No, but I was probably in Connecticut.
Yeah.
I
Okay,
started I
Connecticut.
started earlier in New York, but I was in Connecticut.
Yeah. And he helped me tremendously with my first dog, Buddy, Black Lab puppy, cutest thing. And I was a new guy to, frankly, health. I was eating healthy, but it wasn't my idea of health today. And he introduced me to holistic practices and herbs, and we did all those things on my dog. And I think it's probably one of the reasons that dogs are in our lives, Bob, don't you think, is to change our diets?
Absolutely. They are our teachers.
They are our teachers.
Yeah.
So I have a lot I owe to this man. He doesn't like to hear it. He doesn't like to get the compliments, but I also owe a debt of gratitude to his daughter, Merritt, who I would get on the phone much easier than Bob. No shade, Bob.
Yep, I know.
You're a busy man. And Merritt still works with you, but Merritt
Yes.
was just lovely. And next time I come to Connecticut, I hope I get to see her in person too.
Okay. You let us know and we'll make sure that happens.
I appreciate that. So, Bob, let's start here. Your company, Earth Animal, was like this big back in 2000. Is that a fair statement compared to what it is now?
Oh, yes. Yes. It was definitely a small company. We started in 1979, as a little store, and it became a pretty popular store. But as a company, that was really it.
Yeah. Wow. And I remember, I bought some of your products and, you've come a long way. Now you've got this just really, really big business that's doing great things for animals. So people can go to earthanimal.com and look for themselves. But what are you really excited about now, Bob, that you're out of doing day-to-day veterinary and you're focused on Earth Animal? So like what lights you up every day?
Well, I mean, Susan and I practiced. Susan, ran the practice, and I was obviously the veterinarian. And we worked together for that, 20, 25 years. We started practice in 1971, so we've been around, a long time. And obviously, the light bulb went on in our practice, and we became more holistically oriented. And so for that 35, 40 years, we used nutrients and homeopathics and herbs, as a modality to treat animals with chronic diseases. Yep. And so we expanded from there. And as Susan became more entrepreneurial, she opened up the Earth Animal Company, and then we began using the knowledge that we learned in the veterinary practice to help animals that were suffering from chronic diseases in their own, using natural modalities. That's basically the way we started.
Yeah. And we should say that Susan's your wife.
Yes. Yeah. And Susan's actually the founder. I was still practicing when she opened up Earth Animal. And so she's the founder. And as I began to work out of day-to-day practice, I joined the company and then did all the product development.
Hey there, this is Rob Ryan. I just want to say how much we enjoy making this content for you here. And if you are enjoying it, would you like our video down below? And would you subscribe to our YouTube channel? It sure does help us get discovered by more people like you who need information like this. And also, down below in our description, the top link is to our trial pack. We hope you'll order one for your dog so your dog can have fermented superfoods that give them nutrition like they can't find anywhere else. Hard to get nutrients that are easily absorbed. Thank you very much. Now back to the show.
That's great. That's very interesting how that all happened. She's very passionate. You can feel it in the first 4 seconds of meeting her.
Yes.
She's very passionate. Yeah.
I agree.
You have a big family. Who besides your okay, so you've got your wife that's supremely passionate. You, of course, have your brother, Marty Goldstein, who's also a great vet. Who else in your family? I mean, how did this all happen? Like, how do you have your whole world surrounded by all these great animal people?
Well, very early on, the light bulb went on for us way back in the 70s, that the use of medication, the over-vaccination, the feeding of terrible diets, that were just, terrible byproducts and, additives and preservatives and coloring agent. We just knew that was not good for the health of the animal. So we began to, dabble in the holistic area. And then obviously the family, my family, obviously Merritt and Susan ran the store. Merritt joined the company and she helped to run the store. We have an older daughter, Abby, who now works with the company also. And then, of course, my brother and I practiced together for that, 10, 12 years. And then I left practice and went more into the earth animal. Marty stayed in practice and built his holistic practice from there. Yeah. So it's been a journey, and it's been basically a family affair on our side.
Yeah, really, truly. All right, so your office, it's like yours and Marty's, both. I first came to Marty, and then Marty was just a real pain in the butt to get into. And so I started to complain to them, at the front desk, is there any other way I can get a better appointment? And they said, go to Bob.
Yeah.
And I said, wait, his brother does this? So that's how we connected. And so you ended up helping me tremendously, but both of you guys referred me to raw feeding. And I'm pretty sure it was your office that said, read, give your dog a bone. And I said, I'm not reading Give Your Dog a Bone. I'll just hire him as a consultant to get on the phone with me. We didn't have Zoom back then.
Right.
And so Ian and I did phone consults. So that was back then. You believed, obviously, in whole foods. Now you do have a little bit of a different view on dog food and pet food, right? Talk to me about that a little bit.
Yes, I do. Well, first of all, let me acknowledge Ian because he was definitely the founder of the raw food. And so during my 35 years of treating animals with cancer nutritionally, I used many of his concepts because I knew that feeding raw foods that were not heavily processed or chemicalized is really going to be beneficial for the healing of those animals. So I acknowledged Ian for all the work he did of introducing raw foods to the industry. What has happened with Susan and myself in Earth Animal, we have become a B Corp. And a B Corp means that you focus not only on the sales of your product, but you focus on everything around you, the environment, all the people that work for you, the suppliers and everything. And that really opened our eyes to, the negative effect of factory farming on the planet. Beside the cruelty aspect of it, obviously the decimating of the forest, using, chemicalized feed on these animals, which then it gets a residue in the animal. This whole area of factory farming was very, very negative to us. Yeah. Both Ian and I take not a quote. We make a commitment to cause no harm as a veterinarian.
Yeah.
And when you look at the factory farming part of it, it's just terrible. Besides obviously decimating the planet, it also has a lot of, negative effects on the animal.
Yeah.
So that started us into a journey to say, listen, can we begin to reduce our reliance on meat for animals and still maintain the quality and nutritional benefits that we get from feeding a meat diet? So it was not that I was against what Ian does and the raw food. What I was against was the use of animals. And just as a statistic, 25% of the global carbon imprint is from pet food. That's larger than the global transportation industry. So you can imagine that the negative impact of factory farming on the planet. So that started us on a journey to say, can we make a food from plant proteins and plant amino acids that would satisfy the animal's day-to-day need and keep that animal healthy and vibrant. And we believe we have succeeded in doing that in introducing our, from the seed wisdom food.
That's great. That's great. Well, look, I think nothing you've said here would be in contradiction to what I believe and you believe and Ian believes. I mean, I think everything you said, the impact on the globe, and we're really mostly talking about factory farming. You were very clear about it being factory farming.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so is it you, and I agree, I can't agree less, or I cannot agree more, excuse me,
right.
100%. We just came out with a treat, Bob, that is with 100% regenerative farmed from a place called White Oak Pastures. And so I believe soil health is planet health, sequesters carbon, all that good stuff. It's a net zero ranch. So it's actually in the negative impact. So if you could snap your fingers and you could, all the farms could be changed from industrial to regenerative, would that change any of your view on things? Or
absolutely. We are not telling everybody to be a vegan.
Yeah.
That is not what we're trying to do. Yeah. What we are saying is that there's a negative impact of factory farming the way it's set up. Yeah. So let's figure out a way to reduce our reliance on factory farming. Regenerative farming is terrific. If the animals are out grazing in the outside and eating grass outside and getting fresh air and are not cattled into, crates and all these things, that's really what we're against. So we are not vegan oriented, although vegans, they can certainly be happy with our plant-based food. But what we're saying is the cruelty aspect, the negative aspect on the planet is really what we're after and what we're trying to prevent. And if we can do that with a plant-based food and reduce our reliance, basically reducitarian approach, we feel we've done something very good for the animals, the environment, and the planet.
So you're not a vegetarian, but you're a reducitarian.
Well, I'm essentially a vegetarian, but we are a reducitarian. At our company, Earth Animal, we have Meatless Monday. So everybody, no meat on Monday, which would be great. If everybody in the planet did that, it would save billions of animals, from cruelly being raised, just for meat. So, we're taking the approach, I guess there was a story that really this made me feel, that we're on the right track. Way back in the 1900s, when the whale industry, the blubber from the whale industry lit the lights. That's what people did. And the vegans stood on the corner and they were fighting and fighting and fighting. Nothing got done. And then somebody introduced kerosene and the whale industry disappeared, or the cruelty aspect of the whale industry disappeared. Yeah. That's really what we're saying. Let's figure out a way to reduce our reliance on factory farmed animals. If there is grass-fed animals, that would be great. Reduce it, Meatless Monday, whatever it takes. Every step is going to help prevent the planet from getting worse and the cruelty aspect of the animals.
Okay. I love everything I heard. So tell me how you're doing this. How you doing this reducitarian? How you doing this diet?
All right. So Susan and I basically, we mostly vegetarian. So we'll eat, grains, rice, salads. We eat a lot of that. Periodically, we will eat meat. But most of the time it is not meat. We have reduced the reliance on meat, and then we're looking at the alternative protein. I will say that what has really helped us with the development of the plant-based food, and we've done it for dogs. I am currently working on seeing if we could do it for cats. I know that's very controversial. I believe that we can do it, so I'm working on that. But the technology has improved so much from the beginning. They now have precision fermentation. You have Impossible Burger. You have Beyond Burger. Those things, if done the right way and nutritionally sound, can really help to reduce the reliance on factory farmed animals. So it's a combination of the timing was right, the technology has advanced to the point where we can really get it where we couldn't get it in the 70s and 80s. You can get it right now. So I think taking advantage of that is really what's motivating Earth Animal to really get that done. And over the next 3-4 years, we're going to reduce and hopefully eliminate our reliance on the use of animals for our products.
Yeah. Well, I bet you, as people watch this, and as you put very aptly, that when you start thinking about doing this with cats, people are going to have a lot of their eyebrows, at the very least, are going to be raised, and their voices might be too. So tell me tell these folks how you plan to not just develop something for cats, but how do you plan to prove that it's healthy for cats? Like how do you do that? How do you think about doing that?
Well, first of all, there are a couple of clinical trials that have been done. Dr. Knight has produced one, which shows that a number of cats on a plant-based diet have really, really got vibrant health and all the parameters associated with that. So on the cat side, we feel that with this new technology of producing protein, animals and people are really relying on not necessarily what's on the label, but the nutrients that product, the amino acids and the fatty acids that supplies to the animal. So cats they're quotes called obligate carnivores. I don't believe that that's correct. I believe that they're obligated to eat amino acids that supply all the amino acids that they need for health, not necessarily has to come from meat. That's my own belief. Now we're going to prove that. We're going to go through a clinical process where we're going to feed many cats a plant-based diet or a cultivated meat diet or a fermented type of diet, and we believe that we'll be able to prove that. We proved it on the dog side. We believe we'll be able to prove that on the cat side.
Right. And then for people who don't know, precision fermentation is not exactly like, for example, the way Gussy's gut does fermentation the old way. You could take different things that, like, how are you developing your proteins or your aminos after they're fermented? What is it coming from?
Well, there's a technology. We're working with a company. It's a little bit confidential right now, so I can't really disclose what that is. We're working with a precision fermentation process, and what happens, the DNA. The DNA from an animal is utilized to produce it by feeding it, let's say, the yeast, and they take that DNA and they come up with a protein that is a mirror image of the meat-based protein, but it didn't use an animal to get there. Obviously, the next step would be the cultivated, where they're using the cells of a piece of meat or a cow or a dog, of a chicken, or a pig, and they'll actually replicate that. Now, it's very controversial, and right now we're focused in the plant-based area. But as this technology improves, we believe we'll be able to put together the diets that cats really will flourish on, and not need meat in their daily diet. That's our belief.
Sure.
And just like wool, dogs. It has been genetically proven that dogs are totally different than wolves. They have evolved over the years. They have 10 more genes than a wolf does, and that gives them the ability to digest carbohydrates and plants, where wolves don't have that. We believe the same thing has happened on the cat side, where the wild cats, lions, tigers, and everything are totally different than a domesticated cat that has been fed. I won't mention the names of the food, but have been fed kibble for years and years. And those kibble, while they do have the necessary protein, they're loaded with carbohydrates. And those cats have have fed them for years and years and years. Yeah. The problem with that whole thing, and Ian would definitely agree with me, that has caused serious degeneration and the increase of diseases. Feeding those terribly processed foods have really led to this, cancerous epidemic in dogs and cats. 30% of the dogs that die after 12 years of age die of cancer. That to me is absolutely crazy.
Sure. Yeah, no, it is. Boy, I just was thinking as you were saying that it must be very weird to become more successful in your career and go through your entire career that you have, which has been, how long were you practicing vet?
I started practice in 1971.
71. So, okay. So, and when did you stop?
I'm still doing a couple of clients, so I'm still doing a little bit. But over the last 2 years, I have basically moved away from that and made sure that the animals that were on our program were taken care of, and then slowly have left practice over a 2-year period.
Okay, so basically 50 years.
Yeah, at least 50. Yeah, probably a little bit more.
Yeah. So to have gone through a 50-year career that's illustrious, you've had tons of success, you've cured animals, you've seen animals extend their lives that probably came to you being told they were going to live a month or a week. I know you have all these stories built up over 50 years, but still around you to see that dogs are getting cancer at younger ages and in greater quantity. I mean, that must be just so bizarre.
Well, it's very disheartening.
Yeah.
I would say that I think that, and I know Ian will agree with it, the diet aspect, getting better diets to these animals is definitely going to help to reduce the amount of degenerating diseases. Yeah. But there are other things that we do, obviously, vitamins, minerals, all the nutrients that these animals need. And I think there's 2 other areas that are very, very concerning. Over-vaccinating of the animals has really reduced their immune competence, and genetically inbreeding and these factory where they,
puppy mills.
I don't know what they call dog farms, where they're breeding and inbreeding, that has produced the genetically weakened animals. One story that I had from practice, I had a golden retriever in California. I was in Connecticut, golden retriever in California, and she got on the phone with me and she said, Dr. Bob, she said, I went to the University of California and they had 2 waiting rooms, one for the regular and one for cancer. She said, I walked into the waiting room for cancer. There was 19 dogs in the waiting room. 18 of them were golden retrievers. And I said, genetics, the inbreeding, because it was such a popular dog in the 80s and 90s, the inbreeding of those dogs just propagated their susceptibility to developing cancer earlier and earlier and earlier.
Wow. Did we not, I mean, I'm just going to ask a question that I don't know the answer to. It sounds almost a little naive, but did we not know about inbreeding in the 80s? Was that not a popular thing, or were the breeders just incompetent or irresponsible?
I think that I don't know if I would go to the incompetence and irresponsible. They wanted to breed animals that fit that matched the mold. So, for instance, a golden retriever was a happy-go-lucky dog, and let's breed more and more of those. The German Shepherd, and I remember this very specifically, they were bred to be taller in the front and lower in the back, and they became the number 1 dog for hip dysplasia. So all those things, I don't know if that was on purpose. They were focused on the beauty and the physical and not focused on the adverse effects that was going to cause on the animal.
Sure. But I guess what I'm asking is, so the aesthetics of the breed, I understand that in the ribbon circles, I get all that. But did people know in the 80s and 90s about, like, oh, you definitely do not want to, you want to breed for diversity and not,
Nah, I don't think so. Nah, it was, the more educated breeders and people who were in the industry probably did, but the general public did not. And obviously in the 80s, this is before the internet and all the wealth of knowledge, that Dr. Google puts out. So, that was not available. So it was more, knowledge was not as rampant as it is right now. And good knowledge and bad knowledge are being rampant right now.
Yeah, right. That's part of the game, right? You have to take the good with the bad, and it's and now with ChatGPT and everything else, and now you've got deep fakes and you've got AI and cloning of things, it's going to be crazy, Bob.
It's absolutely crazy. There's a good aspect to that, because if we can utilize that technology and knowledge for the betterment of animals, people, and the environment, we have used it properly.
Yeah. Amen to that. So tell me what else you're doing at Earth Animal. Like what else are you excited about?
Well, the other area that we work, obviously nutrition is at the top of my list. So I'm intricately involved with making sure that the foods that we're making, the supplements that we're making are absolutely right on the button. The other area that we focus on, which is actually one of the founding pillars of Earth Animal, is the natural approach to the prevention of fleas and ticks. Mm. I'll make this statement because I love to make this statement so people know it. As a veterinarian, I am totally 100% against the use of an animal's body to deliver a poison to kill a flea. That, to me, as a veterinarian, as a person, does not make sense. So we have developed an entire program to help prevent fleas, not kill them, help prevent and repel fleas so they're no longer causing the epidemic of Lyme, diseases and itching and all the things that go along with fleas and ticks. So that's the other area that we're heavily focused on. We have just finished a clinical trial on the use of our natural products for the prevention of fleas and ticks in France, and we are now beginning to expand that and really make that available to the public. So that's the other area that we're working on. That fits our mold of doing no harm and really coming up with alternative products for the health of the animal.
Wow, that's great. Do you think you're going to ever come up with anything for heartworm?
That's a tough one. It really is. I mean, as a veterinarian, and having so many products, I've always been inundated with people saying, you got to have something for me. And, we would come up with programs where reduce the amount of heartworm medication. If it says every 30 days, give it every 45 days, test the animal's blood every 6 months. But I was never able to 100% be effective. So I was afraid. I was cautious about doing that and making any claims.
Yeah. Well, you don't want to, for everything I've heard, and I've asked everybody, you don't want to mess around with that.
I don't. I work with the local veterinarians and I explain my position. I would educate people, but I told them to be as proactive as possible without stopping what their veterinarian recommended.
Okay. So your flea and tick, can you tell me like some stuff that's in it?
Yeah. So we have the basic part of the program is that we have an internal product. And we started out with a yeast-based product and we have an herbal-based product. And essentially, the dogs and cats don't have any sweat glands, but they do have oil glands in the skin. And so the nutrients, the herbs and the nutrients and the heavy brewers yeast, which is high in sulfur, concentrated in sulfur, they get into the body and actually get into those glands and put out a odor that really is objectionable to the flea and tick. If you've ever gone to a picnic, you'll see some people mauled by mosquitoes and other people, the mosquitoes don't bother it. So we feel that barrier is something that we want to work on. So part of the program is internal. And then we have a herbal flea collar that has been clinically proven to prevent fleas and ticks, somewhat with mosquitoes, but basically fleas and ticks. So we sort of hit it from the inside and the outside. We change the biochemistry of the odor of the animal, and then we put a flea collar that's naturally preventive or repelling on the outside. The combination of the both is the best thing that we can do. If you read the news and the EPA, a number of companies have been pointed at for causing death. I mean, that was like 2,800 animals last year or the last couple of years died from a flea collar. Yeah. To me, that does not work as a veterinarian. So if there's a way to prevent it and not have to treat it, we are totally in favor of it, and that's what our products do.
And that's because yours is herbal, theirs is chemical.
Well, there's an insecticide, and ours are preventive oriented. So if you can prevent it, you don't have to treat it. But they're using an insecticide that's absorbed in the body, gets into the blood, and when the flea and tick bite, they die. To me, I am totally against that philosophically.
Yeah.
So if you can repel, as I said, if you can repel a flea or a tick and not have to kill it by using the body to kill it, giving body a chemical, that chemical, while it goes in the body, has to have an effect on the kidney and the liver, the filters of the body. So to me, that's not good medicine. That's really something that we have to figure out a way around. We think we have figured out a way around that.
Yeah. Well, preventing anything is so much cheaper and easier and less impact, let's say, negatively to your health. It seems to be always when you have to treat something, and especially when you're in later stages of a condition, it's really expensive, real toxic usually, and you have less options, right?
Absolutely. And the pharmaceutical industry would not agree with what you just said. Prevention is not what they're after. They're after treatment, which is fine. I'm not against them, but certainly if people want to be educated and learn how to prevent fleas and ticks instead of having to treat them with a pesticide that has negative effects on the animal's body, that's available to them.
Yeah.
So that's the other area that we really heavily focus on, the food and supplements and natural treats that we do. And then, of course, the supplement. Then we do have a whole bunch of natural remedies that are condition specific, herbal remedies and natural remedies that prevent and help to prevent the nagging problems, itchy skin, that kind of stuff. So, we go after everything from the natural perspective without causing any harm.
Yeah, that's great. So what do you find now is missing, or have you addressed that already with your pet? What's missing in the pet product space? Like, or where do you see things going in the next 10 years?
I will make a prediction. I think that the plant-based initiative and the other one is the cricket, the larvae. And I think that both of them are going to be, they're going to really make an impact on the reduction of the factory farming. I think the factory farming is not sustainable. If there's I don't know how many billions of people there are in the world, but if we don't do it now, we're going to destroy the planet and not be able to regenerate. I like your concept of regenerative farming. I think that's really, really good. And if we can do that and reduce our reliance on meat, I think that's really where I see the focus of where the industry should go. I think the industry has come a long way from back in the 60s and 70s when I was, just first breaking in. They have come a long way. And if, at Global, you were there, the sustainability, the Sustainability Coalition had an incredible amount of impact on it. So many companies are really becoming sustainably oriented and figuring out ways to make the planet better and to cause less harm to the animal. That, to me, is really terrific.
Yeah. Well, let's hope so. Do you think that the soldier, what is it called? Soldier bot fly, is that right?
Yeah. It's a cricket. The one we have is a cricket, and can't remember what the other. It's a larvae. It's a larvae.
Yeah.
It's a black soldier fly. Susan.
Black soldier.
Yeah. Susan is in the other room. She just told me it's a black soldier fly.
No, she's it's black soldier. I always forget that one. So do you think that's going to be even driven more because of the higher cost of meat as we produce it more? Because it's right now industrial farming is all of folks. It's just very simple. It's going to, when it first hits your ears, it's incredibly complicated. But all of the inputs that they use, they're usually not very healthy, and all their costs are externalized and they're subsidized a lot by government. So the true cost of meat is not what we're paying now.
Right.
And so without going too far into that, I think we're gonna start moving into an area where the true cost of meat will end up being on the sticker at the end of the day, on the price tag. And so it'll drive up cost of meat. Do you think that that's going to be a driver of the botfly and the larva and the cricket protein, or is there another driver in the next 10 years?
I think that's part of it. I think that it is part of it. I think that, and if you read the clinical trials that are coming out, Dr. Knight in the UK has really produced some incredible information. And I think that it's multifaceted, to put it that way. It's not only the sticker shock of the price, it's the negative effect on the planet, and obviously there's a cruelty aspect, but I think that's probably a little bit more narrow. But I think that the negative effect and the sustainability movement in people, on the people side and in the pet side, I think is going to, all those factors are really going to support that. And from our perspective, we are launching a larvae food. Initially, there's a yuck factor. It said, oh my God, I don't know if I can do that. And so we had that initial yuck factor. But when you look at the broader picture of the negative impact of meat on the planet and on the animals that are food animals, it just has to be done. In the veterinary side, there are two other areas. The GMO is really, really important, but what's called the advanced glycation end products, which comes from cooking,
yep,
and all those things, and the glyphosate, the Roundup that are being used in the factory farming, that Roundup getting into the muscle meat of the food animal. When you add all those things up, people are finding out about that. So I think to answer your question, I think it's multifaceted, and there's a lot of factors that are driving that whole thing home.
Yeah. There's this whole driver of cancers, going back to that. There's two big storms, it seems to me. You've got a reduction in nutrient dense foods, so you have nutrient deficiencies at all kinds of levels in these processed pet foods, that so-called kibble, etc.
Yes.
At the same time, since 89, I believe it was, the hockey stick has been going up in terms of glyphosate use. And now it's ubiquitous. It's everywhere. It's in our rainwater. It's everywhere. It's in our air.
Yeah.
It's known as Roundup in a commercial and home use, but they also use it in farms. And what they figured out, and this, Bob, probably, I'm sure, is they're using it as a desiccant for crops so they can dry them out. They figured that they could spray after it's been pulled out of the fields and dry the crops fat, the wheat and all of that faster with this chemical. So you've got nutrient deficient problems, and basically it's not even like every nutrient has to be met at the plate level every day for your dog or you. It just means that your food is less nutrient dense than it needs to be or can be. And then at the same time, you've got this assault on your system constantly, which is just tearing apart your gut, this glyphosate, right?
Absolutely. And when I talked before about technology, now we just know so much about it, so much more. We know about the microbiome. When I was practicing in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, I didn't even know what the microbiome was.
Yeah.
So there's so much more available data for us to make the right decision that I think we're going to go in the right direction. Slow, but I think that we are going to go in the right direction. Yeah. So I think it's really multifaceted, and I think the ability to gather more knowledge has really helped to move it along. But we're going to have to. We're going to run out of space on factory farming and knocking down trees. We're going to run out of it. So I think that we have to do something about it. And I think the larvae and the plant-based is a great way to get into that, as long as it's nutritionally sound, and I believe that it will be.
So I talked to Dr. Ian Billinghurst, about bugs and larvae and crickets. What do you think he said? Do you have an idea?
knowing, and I read his book way back when it came out in, I don't know, 70s or 80s. I don't know. I'm probably a little bit older than he is, so I've been practicing probably a little bit more, but probably not that much. I bet you, while he is a meat-based person, I bet you he was in favor of that for the benefit of the planet, because I think that's where he comes from.
Yeah, and so he said to me that yes, he's very pro environment, planet. He's very pro regenerative. He's incredibly, actually, what he's pro is pro soil health. That's his big thing, and I think we all are.
Yeah, we all. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, but he actually said, it does actually fit in biologically appropriate feeding. It certainly, and dogs specifically, they eat all sorts of things. And to make a very long story short, not speak in any technical terms, they'll eat all sorts of things, and they can eat, bugs, crickets, larvae.
Yeah.
And the only problem he has is the same damn problem you have with anything, which is, what is the source? What was it grown on? And are we just thinking we're going to feed this every single day and not rotate foods? And those are his two big complaints. If I can speak for him, that was a chat I had.
And that would be my concern also. The lobby people that we are dealing with, they have walked us through an incredible process that they go through. And I, as a veterinarian, was satisfied with what I heard. I think they're doing it the right way. They're preventing any kind of contamination at all. And you're getting really true, good quality protein out of it. So I think it's good. And if it can reduce the reliance on factory farming, I am 100% behind it.
Yeah. You're what you're doing. It's reminds me a lot of the energy sector. Until we can get to this ideal situation, what are these bridges? Like you're this bridge. It seems to me that's what you're trying to do. You're becoming this bridge. So you're basically you would be all in favor of 100% regenerative, but obviously we can't just jump to that overnight. And so you're finding this opportunity to provide nutrition and health, and also at the same time take care of the planet. Am I wrong? Is that?
No, totally. That's exactly where we are. We're not, when we drive through the roads of Florida and see these cows out in the pasture eating, that's fabulous. So we are right now at this point, reduce or eliminate the reliance on factory farming, which has the cruelty aspect, the non-sustainability, the destruction of the planet. That's step one. You can't do it overnight, but I think that the knowledge base in the world is moving in that direction very slowly, but I think it will get there.
Yeah. It's so interesting. This is such a cool time to be alive because everybody is testing their thesis, and they're trying to, come up with a solution to very big problems, or at least a part of a solution. It feels like almost like a barnstorming where everybody's trying to do their part in, putting up a barn. And this is a big damn barn. Hey, if you're in Florida, why don't you just come out with a python food? There's tons of pythons over there. I'm sure you could do it.
I think they have plenty of food. Unfortunately, they have plenty of food.
Unfortunately, they do. But that's an abundant resource over there. But seriously, why can't dogs eat python, I wonder?
Well, the meat would be fine. I would think the meat would be fine. But I'm not sure if there'll be enough to feed. I mean, there's so many animals. And that was the other area that, that really comes to light, is that the global animal population is immense. I mean, it's growing. Everybody wants, a dog or a cat. They're domesticated, terrific. They're the humanization of dogs and cats has really, really raised the population of them globally. So, and you got to feed them.
Yeah, for sure. Well, that's really interesting. Well, Bob, it's been great to see you in Florida at the pet show we saw each other at, and we hadn't ever met. Ever, and we got to see each other in person, and it's great to be on with you today. And thank you for what you're doing. And you're a pioneer in every sense of the word, as far as I'm concerned, and you're a brave man. So thank you for being here for the animals. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much, and it's very well done. I really appreciate what you're doing. You're getting education out there. It's great. and send my best to Ian. Tell him I'm a big fan of what he's done.
Well, I will send it to him, and we'll let him listen and watch this while he's painting.
Okay.
That's what he's doing today. So anyway, thank you very much, Bob. And everybody go ahead and please check out earthanimal.com. You heard the man. Check out his foods. Check out his flea and tick program. He's got a suite of products. I think we say suite. Yeah. Wherever you find finer quality products, that's where you can find Bob's products. All right, Bob. Bye, Susan.
Okay. Yeah, she's downstairs. So I will tell her that you said hello.
All right. Sounds good.
Okay. And great to see you. Thank you very much.